Okay, today I'm going to show you a quick way on how to drop loot. So for this example, load up the scene, of course, or not the scene, but the project. And if you go down to ARPG, so open that up, look under prefabs, and then go to enemy. So here you have some pre-constructed enemy things. Enemy bears, one we want to look at. And then if I do, let's make that a little larger. You come down here and there's all these things like a bear, what I think an enemy requires. If you go to enemy drop, we're going to take a look at these two. How do we drop items, right? After we kill somebody. We're going to edit the script. So the enemy drop holds a reference to the loot drop. So this is the possible items. It's the loot table, right? So here's the call, drop loot, and it inherits from the interface I drop loot. So you could call, right? You could attach this to your own things that drop loot. And let's see if we go to the definition there, see all it is a function drop loot. But then you could attach that interface anyways, and it's going to give you this. So what did I write in here? Well, this is just a guard clause. It's just checking to make sure if this thing's not null and there's actual drops to drop. And if there's not, then we just get the heck out of there. This part right here, maybe you don't use this. This is the scaling function. So this scales. It's checking I scale. And on this, it's on the enemy scaler. So what the heck is the enemy scaler? Well, basically here, if you use this, it calls into the stat user, and it's going to get the user's level, right? And then it gets into the scaled level, which is part of the static formula script. You could go there if you want, but this has a bunch of the static like armor. How do I calculate armor and enemy levels and things of that nature? Um, so yeah, I'm getting it scaled level there. Of course, if you don't have this, you could just remove it. This line right here is the only really important line. Basically, it's going to drop a game object when you call into possible drops. That's this thing right here, LootDrops. Get random drop. So that requires two things. It requires a location where you want to drop it, and then of level. So level 1 would just give you the stats that you fill out, and then a higher level, then the more stats you get. So these are leveled, right? It just goes here, open it up, and if you want, you could take a look in here. So it's instantiating one of the loot drops. It's checking the item's rarity. It's checking if it's equipment, because if it's equipment, then we got to assign its equipment traits. And then it just kind of returns the thing as an item. And you don't need to know all that, but just this line right here. You call that line into here. Let's go back to the Unity editor. And it's going to go into the loot drops. So let's check out one of these loot drops. So we'll go to what? Testing loot? Sure, why not? So I just double click that, and then here's our loot drops, or otherwise known as a loot table. You see here's the possible items that you could drop, and then here's the percentages of their drop rate. And that's it. So you need to make a loot table. And how do you do that? Well, let's go back to our enemy bear, because now that I assigned a testing loot on that, I could click on it. And we see under data and looting, we have some example loot tables. So easiest way here would just be duplicating it and then assigning what you want to drop. And then once you assign what you want to drop, you could then validate the loot table, which then will calculate the percentages here and show you its percent chance to drop. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. The second way you can make a loot table is just hit right click, or if you hit this little button over here, the plus button, and go up to create, GWL pixel, ARPG. And here we're looking for loot. So we just create a new loot drop list or a loot table. Maybe I'll rename that a bit. But that's it. So you just need one of these loot drops, right, that holds the actual items. And then on the thing that you want to drop, you just call into the get random drop and you feed it a location and a level. Okay.